Briahna Joy Gray is a commentator. She works for the Heal the Rising Next Media. Yesterday, she found out she was let go.
I don't think I can explain the feeling of uncertainty and unknowing and everything that's going on in the past 242 days. A lot of people are asking me if I got a phone call from Romy during that time, and obviously the answer is no. She's not held by an army group. It's a terror organization that just want to cause her and us harm. And the last conversation we had with her was with my mom, and the conversation ended at 10:58 after 10 minutes of only shooting, bombing, and terrorists talking among themselves. And that's how the call ended. After a few days, we translated it, and they're talking about Romy, about the fact that even though they shot her, that she's alive, and debating whether to take her or not. And then deciding to kidnap her. And there were 18-year-old men. And this is the last time we heard her voice. And the last sign of life we had is from the November deal from the released hostages, that some of them were with Romy. And they told us horrifying things about the time that she was kidnapped, that the terrorists dragged her from her hair. She had curly hair similar to mine, and they dragged her from it and then switching to her wounded arm like it's funny. And when they throw her inside their car, she lifted her head up to see what's going on, and one of them saw her, so he hit her with his weapon on her face, and she blacked out. Like, this is how you treat people? This is how you treat women? And this is only the things that happened to my little sister on October 7th. And from then, we don't know what else they can do. It's the same terrorists that are holding her right now. And we know from released hostages about abusing they were having, whether it was mentally, physically, or sexually. And that's just terrifying. My sister is a young, amazing woman, and she just loved her life, and she loved working with autistic children, and she loves dancing. She just went to a music festival, to celebrate.
Can I ask you what what you've heard from the Israeli government with respect to hostage negotiations? We've covered protests from hostage families who feel like Netanyahu isn't prioritizing the return of people's family members, especially given that your sister was injured. The need to get her back home quickly and get medical attention seems to be quite obvious. The former spokesperson for hostage families gave an interview about a month ago, Chaim Rubenstein, saying that there is no doubt that Netanyahu is preventing a deal to release the abductees, and said also, in retrospect, we learned that Hamas offered to immediately release all the abducted citizens if the IDF does not enter the Strip, but the government rejected that proposal. What do you make of how Netanyahu has been prioritizing the return of your sister and the other hostages?
Because I'm not in the negotiation team, and neither Chaim Rubenstein, none of us knows what's really going on. All I can say is that none of us are doing enough to release them, because they're not here. Not me, not my government, and neither the international community. We didn't hear almost anything from the women organization that will condemn what Hamas did and still doing. And it's not that hard to condemn terror groups. And, I can say a lot of things, but right now, if I'm looking at the present or the future, we have an Israeli deal that sent to Hamas, and we're now waiting for Hamas to make their own move and say yes to show.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it right here, guys. I'm not going to play the entire video. I just want to comment here before we go because it's so long. And I just want to voice a couple things. And full disclosure, I did watch a couple people that did commentary, and I think I have something to add to this conversation that I haven't heard other people mention. And that is, first of all, this looks like a setup. And this looks like there's very bad blood between Briahna Joy Gray and her producers of her show, if not the entire network. And I'm also unclear about what are we doing here. Are we doing a piece where we're discussing, a victim victims discussing, or a sister of a victim is discussing her personal situation, her personal feelings about her sister, and trying to elicit response or action from the United States and from other international awareness of this so that we can do something to get her sister home? Is that what we're doing? Because it doesn't seem to match up. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like everybody's on the same page as far as what's the purpose of the interview. Briahna Joy Gray was stone-faced when the woman was describing what she explained as her sister being abducted. And I saw no emotion at all. It was almost like, okay, here they go feels like it's like sort of defensive, right? Maybe she didn't believe the sister, or I don't know, but that's the way it looked. Because as I'm watching the story and I'm hearing this woman highlight, the kidnapping of her sister, I'm getting hey, wow, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that happened. But it's right to, what do you think about Bibi Netanyahu? What do you think about the way they're handling getting back the hostages? Do you think that Bibi is doing everything that Bibi needs to do as far as negotiating with Hamas? And how do you feel that they haven't, proved a ceasefire that may bring the hostages home earlier? And what are your thoughts about the politics? And Miss Gonen is like, look, I'm not here to, I'm not a part of the negotiations. I'm just talking about my sister. And I feel that way strongly. But it's going to change because in another minute, she's going to start talking politics. She's going to talk politics. And I'm like, I thought you just said you're not a political person. You're not a part of the negotiations, but you want to talk politics. And so I'm really confused as what this is. And that's why I say I feel like maybe Briahna Joy Gray was set up. Because it's like you can't win in this situation. And Briahna Joy Gray has been one of the most outspoken critics, if not the most outspoken critic, on that semi-major news network about the Gaza war, the war in Gaza. And she's like, every other day, her and her co-host are arguing to find the points of what's happening here. And she's on the support for humanitarian support for the Palestinians, and the co-host Robbie is arguing in support of Israel. And it's just, so what I'm saying is there's a lot going on here, and I don't feel like this whole story is about this video. It's not just so the media framed it as if Briahna Joy Gray loses her job because of what takes place in this video. I'm going to present to you, as we watch the rest of this, that this is just the last nail in the coffin. I believe they had already planned to get rid of Briahna Joy Gray. This is camouflage for them to be able to get rid of her without too much backlash from the public.
But regrettably, the reporting has been roundly discredited by both Israeli and American media sources. So I really would like to bring this back to your sister specifically. And I want to ask you about what you make of new reports.
Because I saw the pictures with my own eyes. And when you will have a sister in a terror organization's hand, you will know the feeling of terrifying every minute of every day, can't sleep at night, can't even drink a sip of water because I know that my sister is drinking salt water from the sea, that she's not getting food and the terrorist is eating in front of her face.
Yeah, Yarden, I really hope your sister does get water and food, and I hope that, I'm sure you're aware of the ample reporting of Israel blocking aid, food and water to Gaza in a way that is hurting both the people of Gaza and the hostages, right?
Most of the trucks are getting inside Gaza. I don't know if you saw, but Hamas is blocking them from them civilians. They're not giving their own civilians the humanitarian aid that everyone is so eager to give them. And I'm not against that. I'm a nurse in my profession. I really, truly believe that everyone should live in safety, in health. This is one of the biggest crises that we ever experienced here. But I'm really feeling that everyone is taking care of the Gaza civilians like they should. But what about the hostages? Why
Let's
is
talk.
no one
Let's talk
taking
about how to
care
get the hostages home. I
No,
agree.
please let me finish. Why aren't the Red Cross is entering the hostages? Why aren't they giving them medications? My sister have a lot of chronic diseases. Why aren't she getting anything? And we know that they didn't got anything. Why aren't they getting what they deserve?
The Times just reported this morning that Biden said, quote, "There's every reason for people to draw the conclusion that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging the war for his own political self-preservation." This is after Biden's speech at the end of last week was met with statements from Israeli government officials saying that there wasn't an agreement about this hostage deal on the part of Israel, and that there was a gap between what Biden represented and what they would agree to. And after months of Netanyahu and members of his administration saying that the goal was to eliminate Hamas and that he would not agree to a ceasefire and hostage exchange deal, until that happened.
Folks, this is whack as hell. This is whack as hell. This is why I say I feel like it was a setup. And I feel like either that or, I'm sorry, man, Briahna Joy Gray, where's the EQ on this? Now, we know you're a very smart lady. You're very intelligent, and no one would ever question that. I would never question the intelligence level of a Harvard lawyer. But I got to question the EQ calibration on this thing. Because you're arguing, they're putting you in a position where you got to argue why her sister is a hostage. And I don't see why you would have to argue that at all, like explaining why it's Bibi's fault that she's a hostage. Like, I feel like Robbie cannot hold his water with you. He cannot maintain in the debate against you. So they bring in this victim, this woman whose sister is a victim, and now it's like to morally shame you and puts you in a position where you're trying to defend why hostages, like explain why hostages are being taken, and kind of puts you in a moral dilemma where you got to explain why it's okay to have hostages and why it's okay that this woman and the family are, heartbroken and distraught and totally destroyed by their missing sister. Like that's a setup. I don't know why no one saw this. I mean, maybe it's just me, but it feels crappy. And as I listen to this, and I know I told you I let it play all the way in, but what I'm saying is while I'm listening, I'm thinking, just pull the ripcord on this and get out of this conversation. Let her say whatever she wants to say. You don't have to agree with it. And just let her end this, because what's the point? I'm going to go to the end of this where the ending does not end that way. It ends contentiously. And they say this is why Briahna got fired. I disagree, but I want you to see it.
Now, this seems to be Joe Biden saying again that what is obstructing the ceasefire process that could allow your sister to come home and get the food and get the medicine and get the care that she needs and to live in safety is being obstructed by Benjamin Netanyahu. Do you feel like he's putting his own personal political goals ahead of prioritizing hostage release?
I really see that you want to talk political things, and this is not my profession. I'm saying right now that we have an Israeli deal on the table, and we're waiting for Hamas to say yes.
Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. I wish that it were, but unfortunately, that does not seem to be the case. Would you like to say anything else that we should know about your...
That even Biden said himself. This is what the Egyptian government said. This is what the Qatari said just today. And this is what my government said. Hamas also said that they're waiting. They need to read the agreement and to decide whatever they want. I don't know, because what I'm getting is from the media, and I'm sure that you're getting it from the media yourself, because you're not in the negotiation team. So I'm here to talk about my sister, please. help me spread her story, help me make people understand what she's going through as a woman in 2024. We are not 200 years ago. This is not okay that we have terror organizations that controlling the free world and people in the West letting it happen and stay on the streets, killing the hostages now, or Israelis must die. What did I do wrong? What did my sister did wrong? Nothing. Nothing. We did nothing wrong.
Well,
this was happening inside our own country.
Yeah.
And if the world won't help us, we will see 9/11 the second time in the US as well. But we can already see in the United States, in Michigan, rallies that's calling death to America, not condemning terror organizations in Israel or any other place, in fact, is reflecting to your country as well.
I'm just going to push back against the implication that in Michigan, which has the largest Muslim and Arab population in America, that there is any threat of terrorism from our own people. And I would like to clarify also that one of the rationale that was presented for 9/11 was discussed with America's support of Israel's continued occupation of Palestine. So that's neither here nor there. I really do hope that Netanyahu agrees and Israel agrees to the ceasefire deal that could bring all the hostages, including your sister, home. And I'm sure many people watching are praying for her safety.
Thank you. Me too. And I really hope that you specifically will believe women when they say that they got hurt.
All right. Thanks for joining. Stick around. More Rising coming up next.
Thank you.
Boom. And that's, my friends, is why they say Briahna Joy lost her job. Because that ending part. At least that's what the media narrative has been. That she rolled her eyes and that was it. It seems like a whole lot more to this than the very ending of that. In fact, Briahna Joy seemed like she tried to dismantle, disengage, ended on a kind of a positive note where she said, I'm sure everybody is praying for you and your sister that she returns safely. And I'm sure everybody agrees with that, you know. And Miss Yarden, she kind of hit her with a zinger on the way out. A stinger right there at the end. You know, next time, you know, when a woman says that, that someone is, that she's been hurt, you should believe her. Yeah, Yarden, but you're not your sister. Your sister's the one who is the one who's being held hostage. So you're not her to tell us what's going on. Like, you're not the person to tell us that anything happened to her. So it's not that Briahna doesn't believe believe your sister, because she's not talking to her sister. Maybe she doesn't believe your messaging or the narratives that you're repeating here on the show. That's what I think it was. But at the end of the day, once again, guys, I think it could have been handled better. I'm sorry. I think unless you want to leave, unless Briahna just wanted to get about this job, maybe she's like, hey, I don't want to play these games. I'm out of here. If you guys want to scapegoat me in this interview, fine. Let's just, let's end it right here if that's how it's going to be. Because it sounds bad. We got a guest that keeps on, a guest that's appealing to the emotional aspects of a story. And if we take her for a word, and I said we had to take her for a word, that this is all on the up and up, and somehow she was given information about all these things that happened to her sister during the capture and all these things, and this is what's going on, and we got to believe that story. And if we do believe that story, a person in that state of mind, that frustration, going through this amount of stress, you kind of let them just have their moment. Briahna's being a journalist, and she's pushing back. I don't see anything wrong with that, her pushing back. I think it could have been a little bit more compassion for, put it this way. And I know with some people this won't be popular, but that's okay. I'm not popular with a lot of the people that would say this is not popular. So that's okay. Check this out, guys. But I'm going to say it anyway, guys. As I was watching this, I was thinking, what if Miss Jordan was a black woman talking to a white woman and she was explaining how her sister was treated by, I don't know, cops or skinheads or Nazis or whatever? Because Hamas is a terror organization, right? So let's say, well, I don't know, the police. And she's explaining what she says what she thinks happened to her sister. Will we be so cavalier with, hey, well, you know, let's argue to find the points of, I don't know, of abductions. Let's argue to find the points of politics. Maybe not in that conversation. So I want to challenge those that have been very quick, because there's a lot of people very quick to say, hey, this is nothing. If that was a black woman telling the story of her sister being kidnapped by skinheads in the United States or whatever, Boogaloo Boys, or I don't know, okay? Them Patriot Front dudes, I don't know, anybody. A militia group, a white supremacist militia organization, would we have the same sort of dismissive attitude in saying, hey, well, we don't need to really give her moment and let her just feel her pain, and we just hear the story, and then we say, hey, you know, we're getting different reports about what really took place or how things are going, but we wish you the best, and kind of just get her up out of there. Okay? This is not switching. Maybe it won't do it when I'm here. I know it's not equivalent. I know it's not equivalent to compare Yarnin going into a black woman in the same situation, but I'm saying that's the closest. I'm just finding a way to try to make an understanding of what took place here. Once again, I don't think Briahna did anything wrong. I think some things could have been done differently, and I think it was a setup. And I think it was a bad situation. There was no way to win this. And that's just what I think. And I think the producers knew it. And I think next to whoever signs them paychecks knew it. And I think we find out that Briahna Joy Gray, when they sent her the termination letter, she was going month to month already. She didn't have a contract. I'm thinking there's a reason why her contract wasn't renewed. Has something to do with probably her takes on Palestinians and Israel and the Gaza war to begin with. Once again, so that's what I think. You know, the guest said she's not here to speak politically, but she spoke pretty politically. So that's where I'm at. I believe Nexstar already planned to terminate Gray. They use this moment to seal the deal and to blunt any criticism they may receive and sort of like carry the narrative and win the narrative. And they already jumped out ahead of it and used this moment. And when Briahna rolled her eyes, where goes the narrative? Boom. Angry black woman treats sister of kidnapped victim badly, callously, apathy, indifferent. Some say hostile. You know, but hey, I think that was all planned for them to spin it that way. Anytime you have goofballs like Mike Rappaport and Dave Rubin doing a happy dance over Briahna Joy Gray leaving, you got to know that, you don't want to be on the side of Michael Rappaport and Dave Rubin. And you got to know that this is a setup against Joy Gray, because, come on. They painted her this way. And I don't think that Briahna Joy Gray likes kidnappers and thinks it's okay to kidnap people. And they almost try to make it seem like she did. That was sort of like the feeling I'm getting. And Robbie didn't step in and say, hold on a second, look, anything. So that's why I say it seemed like a concerted effort. I could be wrong, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Put it up. Briahna Joy Gray, better off now? She's already independent. She's got her own podcast and has had her own podcast before she got this. She'd only been with the Rising for, a year and a half? She's got her own show, so she's going to be good. They're going to pay her for the remainder of the month. Well, I don't want to assume to know her finances. I just know she has another vehicle that's already has a substantial following. She used to be the press secretary for Bernie Sanders during the 2016 election. So she's got a following. People knows who she is. She's written for a couple of magazines or online periodicals. The Intercept. There's another one that I can't remember right now. People know who she is. Enough for Fox News to cover it. So I think she'll be fine. And as far as the Hill, she's not the first leftist commentator type that has been let go over this. But I gotta say this one last thing, man. I say one last thing on this. And you know me, man. I can't just make friends with everybody and I gotta say the thing, right? One of these days, I want to see somebody black get fired for standing up for black people. Mark Lamar Hill got fired for standing up for Palestinians. Briahna Joy Gray got fired for standing up for Palestinians, seems like. And Katie Hopper got fired for standing up for Palestinians. I mean, maybe not. Katie Hopper's white, but when I went on this show, she made a point to tell me that her mother had an affair with Mayor Marion Barry, and that's pretty black. I don't know if you get any blacker than that. Marion Barry is black. Rest in peace to Marion Barry. Man for life. But yeah, but real talk though, I'd like to see that one time. I'd like to see the fire. I saw Mark Lamar Hill going in, defending Briahna Joy Gray, and I saw him come out of himself, pissed off because some of the people in the comment section were like, hey, why couldn't she be a little bit nicer to the Jewish girl? You know what I'm saying? The sister may be getting, graped. And he's like, well, we don't know that. You don't know what's really going on. It's not we don't believe the sister. The sister's not there to tell us the story. We're getting a secondhand story from a person who's got it from someone else who knows what we really know. We don't know. We need evidence. And I was like, wow, Mark Lamar Hill does have a lot of power and fire when he. But I'm like, where's this shit for us? You know how many black people have died in mass incarceration? I know it's not Gaza war, but I'm just saying, we've died in prison. You realize they let us off them plantations. The moment they let us off plantations and gave us freedom, they started Jim Crow. They started convict leasing, which put you back on them same plantations. But this time you were owned by the state. And now they could just work you till you die and just go get another one from the people. You weren't even property to the people that owned you now. And then once they ended that, they went to chain gangs. And we're talking about 95 to 99% of those workers were black Africans, black Americans that were in these positions. So slavery never ended. They went from slavery to convict leasing to chain gangs to Jim Crow throughout the whole thing. We're going to get to Jim Crow. But I'm saying, where's the fire and the willing to down the sword for us? And I'm not saying you wouldn't, but I'm just saying, it just seems I got to bring it up because I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it. Who do you know? Name somebody who's been willing to go to the mat like that and really call out this bullshit to the point where they lose their gig. I give it up for Mark Lamar Hill. I give it up for Dr. Cornel West. I give it up for Briahna Joy Gray. Can I get that same fire for the black folks, though? No, Tim, you can't bring up black people. That's what I do, man. That's what I do. I bring up that issue because our issue has been going on for so long, and it's like been going on so long now, people are numb to it. So anyway, but no, I do not think that Briahna Joy Gray did anything to earn a termination, but I do feel like it's a gift, and she'll do better for this. She's everywhere. Her name is ringing out and it'll turn into a very much a positive for her, I believe. Hell, I don't know how many people I've seen that say, "Hey, I only watched the Rising for Bree, so good. One less show to watch until Bree gets another show." And they're already saying they're just going to go donate to Bree's show. So yeah. And Katie has rolled her eyes. Solidarity. I'm missing something. But thank you, Arlene Chambers, for the comment. You can't ask Jay to play false concern, especially if she knows it's a setup. Can't ask her to play fake concern. You think she knew it was a setup? Could have said it was a setup. I think if you know it's a setup, hey, it's, that's what I'm saying. Maybe she wanted to leave. Not fake concern. I'm saying, I said in the beginning, Tobias, we have to take her on a word that the story is valid, that they vetted the story. They're a news agency. This is not Tim Black. Having to rely on any other third-hand shit. They have the money to know did the sister really get abducted? That's not a setup part. The setup is the station trying to get Bree to look bad. That's the setup. The story's not a setup. Having empathy for this situation is not a setup. That's as human beings. But the way they tried to manipulate that, emotionally manipulate, to kind of force the issue to say, you support hostage takers. I think you can say, I don't support hostage takers, and I think your sister should come home. And I think part of the reason that hasn't happened yet is Bibi Netanyahu. You can say all of that and say, but you know what? I think your sister should be home, and I'm sorry your sister is caught up in this BS. I think you can say that. And I think no one would, and I think you could also say, and I feel your pain, and I'm so sorry for what's happened. And I can only imagine. Because I have yada yada sister, brother. That's not fake. That's authentic. I mean, that's what I would do. That's what I would say. That's something sort of like what I would say. That wouldn't be fake. You don't have to compromise and say, I believe the narrative that's been spun by the IDF and been spun by AIPAC and its spokesmodels. You don't have to say you believe that. You don't have to accept that narrative. What I'm saying is, you can show empathy for the story. You don't have to do this. That's just me. But I've gotten in trouble for showing empathy before. I'm a passionate person, so maybe it's different. I've gotten in trouble before for showing too much passion. And maybe just different, whatever. All right, let's go to Byron Donalds.